Coach, just overall in offensive evaluation after Saturday, you guys go into a really hostile environment and you guys play well in the second half but get off to another slow start. What have you seen so far now that you've had a little bit of time to go back and look at the film?
First 6 plays of drive, run down the field, have a negative run, and kind of put us in a third and long situation. Ended up having to punt the football there. So, from the very first drive, just negative plays, lack of explosives in a run game, that was a big deal, and lack of efficiency in a run game. Because obviously from just a first down efficiency standpoint, you always want to be somewhere around 50% for the game, and that was kind of our lowest number of the year. I think we were like 38, 39%. So got to be a little bit better, on early downs, and then we got to finish drives in the score zone. And to me, that's when you go back and you watch it, because at the end of the day, the game is truly about two really critical moments. The game started poor, but we've got a 4th and 1 at midfield. We got it teed up. Feel like we're going to go get this first down, and we're going to have a chance to make it a one-possession game, and we jump offside. And then we've got another chance to make it a one-possession game with 14 minutes left in the game, and we don't finish in the paint. And everybody in this room knows about this team. If we can make that thing a one-possession game and make it fun for the last 5 minutes, we're going to have a chance to win a game. And our kids know that, and our kids believe that. And so in those two really critical junctures of the game, like any time you play a good football team and like any time it's big-time football, it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 plays. They're going to be unbelievably critical, and you got to make more than your half. We've made those in those first 3 games. We didn't yesterday or Saturday, and that's kind of the result that we got.
It's kind of procedural, but I asked Connor this too. He's leading the nation in pass attempts per game right now. Is there anything you do as a coach basically to just help him maintain his arm and his shoulder? I know that whole body he's got to do stuff just to deal with the wear and tear of Big Ten football, but with his arm and his shoulder specifically when he's using it so much on Saturday, and I imagine 66 attempts at Cincinnati's maybe the high end, but you guys want to play fast and
and there's a couple things that from an arm care standpoint, obviously Coach Wellman does an incredible job with our guys. That's going to be his body armor, that's going to be his rotational strength and rotational force, that's going to be his body weight, and so first and foremost, Coach Wellman does a phenomenal job making sure those guys' bodies are prepared to play. For us on the football side, it's a everyday arm care pre-practice, everyday arm care post-practice, from the same warm-up procedure that we use every single day, to how we handle ourselves post-practice. And we try to be really mindful of the amount of balls that are thrown in practice. There's certain periods of the day in special teams when we're doing individual pocket management stuff, pocket awareness, evasions, where we're purposefully not throwing for certain periods of the day just to give those guys a little bit of relief. But for the really good ones, the ball don't get real heavy. And that goes for quarterbacks, tailbacks, wideouts, and so, but no, definitely on the high side, I think a lot of that had to do with, how we were running the football earlier in the game and the fact that we were down 2 or 3 possessions for the majority of the second half. I can promise you we did not plan on going out there throwing it that many times.
Through 4 games, what's your just evaluation about how this team handles playing with your tempo? Do you think it's a good tempo team at this point, and what makes the tempo continue to be valuable?
Yeah, from a value standpoint, you look at the comfortability that we have in end of half and in the game, from a 2-minute standpoint. Saturday notwithstanding, on the sack fumble, but we've won some games or put ourselves in a position to win some games because that's kind of what we do from a comfortability standpoint. You look at some of the scores that we've had. The first touchdown against Cincinnati, they're not lined up at all. We got a wide open guy. We've had the first explosive of the season on a 3rd and 16. Illinois not lined up. We get a 50-yard chunk. So it's been incredibly valuable to us. I think that we're playing plenty fast. I think now the challenge for us is just the execution's got to match the pace, because we've done a great job pressuring defenses. We just got to make sure that the execution picks up as well. And, where it really shows up is in the run game and in pass protection, simply because you've got to get comfortable with the fact that they're not going to be lined up correctly a lot of the time, and that's just part of the deal. And as our guys grow and mature, we'll continue to get better and better.
Coach, curious about Josh Henderson. how would you describe him as a person? And, I mean, is there anything that just comes to mind that you can recall that speaks to who he is?
Yeah, I mean, dude, everybody that has surrounded him in his life is a really, really, I mean, 2 wonderful parents. Okay, Todd Smith is high school football coach at the Hun School in Princeton. Unbelievable guy, and so he's been raised in his home and outside of his home within the game of football by great people, and everybody that's ever been around him, whether it was head high school football coach, whether it was Coach Smith at the Hun School, whether it was even Coach Longo and those guys that coached him in Carolina that we have relationships with. I mean, everybody just raved about what type of kid he is. And like a broken record, the kids that want to come to a place like this and play for a man like Tom Allen, they're usually really good people, and so he's a great kid. He's a worker, very conscientious. He's a, very detail-oriented, pass protection's important to him, just doing everything the right way, from how he prepares, how he practices, to how he performs. And then on top of that, he's done a great job on game day, and he's been a really valuable player for us.
Coach, when you look at some of the slower starts that the offense has had early in the games, how much of that do you think is on the game plans that you guys have had coming into the games versus just mistakes or little things that are happening actually out on the field?
That's a wonderful question. Is it the kid's fault or is it my fault? That's a great question. Okay. It's always my fault. Okay. It's our fault. And everybody in this building, we all have a role to play. I got to call the better ones. Obviously, I got to make sure I call the good ones, not the bad ones. I think every offensive coordinator that's ever coached this game, try to make sure you don't call any of the bad ones, just call the good ones. But no, we've all got to be better, and whether it be execution detail, whether it be right play, wrong look, whether it be, lose on an individual, I mean, whatever it may be. We've had every ill of football early in the game, but that's on all of us. It's on me, it's on our coaching staff, it's on our players, that's on everybody. And that's the one great thing about this group is they're incredibly self-critical, but never to a fault. They're going to do everything they can to improve and move forward and make sure that every time we step out there, that every Saturday that we go, that we're the best version of us.
Hey, Coach, just want to get your thoughts. The offensive line has had some issues. What do you need to do? What do they need to do to have the impact you need for this team to be a bowl team this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic question. Number one, I mean, we got to make sure that we're doing everything that we possibly can to have our best 5 guys out there, and whether that be having to move guys around or do whatever we need to do. And Coach Allen alluded to that earlier, and I think that's appropriate. Number 2, those guys in certain situations have to be better. We got to, win some one-on-ones. We got to be a little more assignment sound. Now we've played 3 really, really, really good defenses between Western Kentucky, Cincinnati, and Illinois. And all 3 of them also are very exotic. Which poses problems. And there's got to be a little bit more consistency there. And then I've got to do my part, and I've got to help not only protect Connor, but I've got to help protect our football team as well. And so it's just all of us coming together, and being mindful of what our strengths are, what we're good at, what we're not good at, and making sure that myself and our offensive staff, that we're putting our players in the best possible situation to be as successful as we can be.
I want to go back to what you said when we were talking about tempo, when you mentioned that your team's got to get used to the fact that the other team's not going to be lined up right. Mm-hmm. How is that a challenge for the offense? It sounds like it is. It sounds like that's what you're saying, is that those guys not being in the spot where you expect them to be is a challenge on offense as much as on defense. How so, and how does that, what's that adjustment like? What do you have to do to figure out what to do when they're not where you expect them to be?
It's the same. I mean, the good news is, or I won't say the good news, the truth of it is that since I was a player, when I was a really, really, really bad football player at Middle Tennessee State University, and we were one of the few people going really fast, it's something that you deal with. Now, back then it was even worse because defenses were still attempting to huddle. So there would be times where all 11 players would be inside the hash marks when you would snap the ball. And so through the evolution of it, defenses are doing a better job. But it's just, again, when you play the way that we play, and this is really specific to the quarterback, and it starts to permeate and bleed into other positions, is not everything is going to be black and white. and it's the ability, just through system knowledge and system fit and truly understanding what we're trying to get done, the ability to manage the gray that's created with how we play, that's the skill, and that's really, really important for the quarterback, whether it be RPO decision-making, drop back decision-making, like, for example, the touchdown we threw to Josh, they're not lined up at all. They don't have anybody out there. Now he's got to drive his eyes outside to his high-low, make a choice, and they're uncovered, and there's a little bit of open grass there, and he puts it on them, and we score. And I've also seen that throughout my career go the other way and not be good, And so, again, it's just the skill of managing the created gray, is where, as this thing goes, is where we'll continue to get better and better. Everybody good? Thank you, guys.